All right, everyone. So one of the crazier stories that seen in the wrestling world over the last few days, we're going to read here from Cage Side Seats. ESPN unhappy with WWE deal says Freddie Prinze Jr.'s friend who works at Disney. So we're going to read this whole thing because I think, as you can see here, there was even an update to this article. So I think there's a lot of moving parts with this. So I want to make sure we give proper context. Okay, the huge rights deal media companies pay out to sports leagues and content creators are subject of much discussion and debate. Even the executives involved don't seem to really know whether the deals are good investments for the media companies, but that doesn't stop them from making them. Just like not knowing the details or much of anything at all about the deals doesn't stop fans from talking about them. Throw in the tribalism streak that runs through a lot of the Russell web these days, and you will get things like Wrestling Observer's Dave Meltzer arguing with randos on X/Twitter about AEW's profitability, or for another example, see all the attention being given today to actor, former WWE creative team member, and aspiring wrestling promoter, Freddie Prinze Jr. So before I read what he said, I want to talk about one thing. That's this right here. Anytime we talk about whether ESPN is happy or not happy or anything to do with this WWE deal, you have to understand, and I'm not in the room, I'm just giving my honest opinion. I do not think that when ESPN made this deal, they made the deal because they said, we're going to make exactly the amount of money we paid to WWE in this deal and more. The reason they made this deal is the same reason Netflix and all these other places pay money for these shows. It's just about getting people subscribed and hope that even, let's say, WWE and ESPN Plus, right, or whatever it's called, the streaming service they have now, when if that does go another direction or they redo the deal and maybe WWE says, all right, we get a better deal elsewhere, that they're going to keep those subscribers, right? So it's not always a dollar and cents thing. And if you view it like that, it becomes, I think, a wrong way of looking, right? Because there's just no way with the kind of money that gets thrown around for these things, there's no way you can expect to be profitable on all of them. But that's not the point in the beginning, right? The point is get the people here and then we find a way to be profitable. Okay, so here's what Freddie Prinze Jr. said. ESPN, by the way, so unhappy with the deal with TKO for domestic rights to WWE premium live events. I was talking to a friend of mine who works for Disney and he was just like, yo, they better make their money back on this deal. Like he said, they're hot. So just at the start of this, okay, I just don't know if looking at it through that lens is how ESPN was looking at it. Just don't know. Okay. Prince said that the latest edition of Wrestling with uh said that on the latest edition of Wrestling with Freddie podcast, it's at roughly the 22:30 mark, an episode dedicated to last weekend's Survivor Series PLE. The November 29th show was the third of WWE's and ESPN's 5-year $1.6 billion contract. I mean, think about that. Think about the amount of money. Okay. So where's my phone? Here it is. All right. So let's just do some math here. 5 years. Let's do one. Let's just do 1 billion. We won't even add in the, okay, divided by five. So that's 200 million a year, right? We're making that easy for us. 200 million a year. Is this deal going to bring in $200 million a year? Probably not, right? I don't think money, I don't think money was it, which means they only have 50 or so to go before it expires. That's a lot of buyer's remorse. Good thing ESPN president Burke Magnus. I was trying to read that. I was like that sentence how it was written. It was it was kind of throwing me for a loop a little bit. Good thing ESPN president Burke Magnus told Jimmy Trina just last week on the SI Media Pod that the deal has gone great so far, but in between it's great. Even a man who has reason to hype the WWE partnership seemed to be explaining why it hasn't generated more buzz and pointed to last Saturday's event as a key indicator of its long-term success or failure. It's been really good so far. We are looking forward to WrestleMania this year, which would be our first. We've had two PLEs to date. One was in the Middle East, so it was an off hour. WrestlePalooza was new. Survivor Series this weekend is going to be really good measuring stick for how it's going. In terms of the interaction between the team at WWE and us, it's been great. Did Survivor Series perform well enough to stop rumors from coming out? Fans online will probably never see the numbers, but that won't stop us from talking about the WWE ESPN deal. Update. Fightful's, so here's the update. Fightful's Sean Ross Sapp reached out to his own ESPN and WWE sources and Prince's comments. A WWE higher up gave Sapp an off the record quote with a healthy amount of shade in it, saying no one in WWE upper management is aware of Freddie Prince's role in wrestling or otherwise. An ESPN rep told Sapp the chatter caused by Prince's quote hadn't reached them and otherwise reiterated Burke's comments about the relationship. Okay, so they're claiming through sources, right, that yeah, this is nonsense. Now, I will say, if you read this, right, which is the comment Burke Magnus gave, clearly he's saying it's been really good so far, but he's also pointing out we actually don't know a ton yet, right? Because of we've had one, but then we had one that was off hour. And so Survivor Series and how that does is going to be a big part of it. So I just don't know necessarily, this might have been something that was said, right? Maybe there is kind of some concern. Remember, WrestlePalooza, ESPN's own writer gave it a C, right? Remember, I mean, that was a pretty crazy moment. And I think, you know, this might be getting off to a little bit of a rocky start, but I don't think it has anything to do with even the money aspect of it. I really think, and you're starting to see this backlash growing and growing, growing, on social media. People are getting a little bit tired. The honeymoon is over now for WWE TKO. People are getting a little bit tired of the constant hyping of things and then simply not delivering. We said this in our WrestlePalooza video. WrestlePalooza was a fine PLE. Okay. I enjoyed it. It was good. It was hyped up like it was WrestleMania, and it was nowhere near WrestleMania. We said we compared it to the Netflix debut. The Netflix debut, they took as many stars as possible, threw them onto a show, and okay, it's fine. Like we like seeing the stars, but if you don't have the right storylines, if things don't quite make sense, it doesn't work. Same thing with WrestlePalooza, right? There was a lot of stars on that. The storylines just in totality didn't, at least in my opinion, didn't live up to how the event was hyped. We just had, Triple H saying that, basically Raw was going to be epic. And we just had the big moment where the Mask Guy and Survivor Series and all of that. And now we hear that Raw is going to be epic. And Raw was fine. Raw was good. I mean, that match between Rhea Ripley, Io Sky, right? The tag match, Charlotte Flair, Alexa Bliss was a really good match. The fans were in it. It was great. But it was like your normal Raw with a really good main event. Okay, that's good, right? There's nothing wrong with that, but it's also not like the constant hyping of these things. I think is really a draw. So or draw down, right? It's really bringing down people's feelings about WWE right now. And over the next few months, I think it's going to be a real important time because I think people are going to start getting upset if WrestleMania comes and they can't deliver. People are going to get upset, and so I don't know if necessarily ESPN is like, oh, this was a bad deal for us. I think they're probably more towards what the president is saying, right? We can read his own words where it's like the Survivor Series is going to be a measuring stick for how it's going, right? He's almost telling you that, yeah, we don't actually know how it's going yet. So I don't know if at this point they're not happy with it, but I can tell you they couldn't have been happy with WrestlePalooza from the standpoint of they had to have read what their own writer wrote, right? He wrote, gave it a C. They had to have read some of the interaction online, which was this was fine, but if you're paying the type of money that they're paying to WWE, it has to be more, right? It has to be that big draw. And so maybe by WrestleMania, we'll have had some big time PLEs, some great moments, and everybody's pumped and this thing's going swimmingly. Or maybe if this trend continues, ESPN's going to be like, man, WWE, you're going to have to pick this up. We will see. So thank you all for watching, and we'll see you next time.